number 5, the children. Starting us off is this utterly unsettling photo of 2 children wearing masks. It's a simple costume, one that you'll find many similar variations of if you look through old children's Halloween costumes, but it's a very effective one. Wearing their regular plain clothes along with these disturbing looking masks, these kids are sure to give any unsuspecting individual quite the spook. Halloween masks were one of the earliest forms of guising. In 19th century Scotland, children would go from house to house wearing masks or having their faces painted, lightheartedly threatening to do mischief if they were not welcome. In the early 1900s, costumes were often made at home, and it wasn't until the 30s that masks and costumes were mass produced, often designed to imitate ghoulish supernatural beings the likes of monsters, zombies, ghosts, vampires, skeletons, goblins, trolls, and witches. And I guess werewolves too.
And the number 4 spot, we have the Adult Flight School. Be everybody's favorite wing woman with this costume. Inspired by the movie Top Gun, all you need now is to rent an F-16 fighter jet. Can't be too hard, right? In the number 3 spot, we have Harley Quinn. While it has been done quite a few times, that shouldn't stop you from dressing up as one of DC's most iconic baddies. She's as hot as she is crazy. And with Suicide Squad coming out, you'll be right on point. Next up at 2, we have the dress. This costume sparked a worldwide debate on the visible colors of the dress wear. Now you can confuse people all night long and be the topic of any party you attend. Finally, in the number 1 spot, we have the sexy pizza rat. If you recall this past year, a video about a rat carrying a slice of pizza went viral. Now you can relive those precious 14 seconds of fame as a pizza rat. This costume is hot and has a pizza on it. That sounds like a win-win to me. In the number 5 spot, we have Dwayne Wade as Justin Timberlake. The Miami Heat superstar went total whiteface for this costume based on pop icon Justin Timberlake. Just like blackface, whiteface is probably not a good idea either. Sorry Dwayne Wade, you didn't bring sexy back.
Moving on to number 4, Nightmare Unicorn. Nothing screams horrifying like taking something that is normally magical and potentially cuddly and turning it into a warped, disturbing version of itself. To be fair, this father, we can assume, probably didn't intend on his unicorn mask to look as horrific as it did. At the time, many people probably thought it was crazy realistic. But in an era where you can go buy a horse head mask at your nearest Hot Topic, this humanoid looking unicorn face feels a little too unnatural for our liking. At least the kid in his arms seems to be enjoying it. Or maybe this photograph was preceded by a whole lot of crying. I mean, I'd cry. Talk about nightmare fuel. Moving on to number 3, I See You. Part of me adores this costume. Well, part of me absolutely shivers from it. Magic realism at its finest. From eyelashes to veins to grossly realistic skin, these 2 giant eyeball men are a sight to be seen. The all-black suits with the white ties are a nice touch as well. This costume arguably appears to be more recent than the others on our list. In more recent years, or rather the latter half of the 20th century onwards, many Halloween costumes evolved out of the typical horror figures of ghouls, ghosts, and creatures, and ventured into more science fiction territory, as well as pop culture icons. The eyeball head costume was something of a trend for a while, and fun fact, one recently appeared in the DC Suicide Squad movie, the Eyeball Fuck. Marvel even has its own eyeball man known as Orb, who's a mercenary in the comics. That being said, we're more of a fan of this vintage take on the eyeball man, with lashes and lids included. Moving on to 2, Creatures of the Night. Anteater or elephant shrew. Regardless of exactly what these creatures of the night are, they're creepy as hell. Imagine walking down the street and seeing this fella and his lady, and their sad, soulless eyes staring right at you. Yeah, wouldn't be the most pleasant of experiences, would it? While the masks themselves probably made for quite the hoot amongst their friends, in this photograph, and with that pose, their costumes are rather chilling, and not something we find ourselves wanting to look at for very long. Creepy stuff. And finally, in at number 1, Pigtail Girl. Here we have one of the eeriest photographs of a vintage costume. This Pigtail Girl. Thing is, she's a grown woman, but wearing her hair in messy swooping braids while holding onto a child's doll and a teddy bear. But really, the scariest part of this costume isn't the outfit or the props, or the fact that she's a grown woman, or potentially grown man, since cross-dressing was actually pretty common for guising. It's the mask on her face that's the scariest. The utter white, small eye-hole mask is reminiscent of Michael Myers' mask to an extent, although clearly predated Michael Myers. It's lacking detail, it's simple, and it feels soulless. There's no emotion on the face, despite how it resembles a human face in every way.
And the number 5 spot, we have Imperator Furiosa. You don't want to walk into this year's Halloween party dressed like every other girl, right? So what better way to make an impression than dressing up as the baddest girl on the Badlands? Just wear a neutral color t-shirt, some steampunk goggles, and a lot of black makeup to make sure you look like you haven't showered in weeks. If that's not hot, I don't know what is. In the number 4 spot, we have Adrienne Curry as Amy Winehouse. Celebrities make fun of each other all the time, but making fun of a dead celebrity, not okay. If it wasn't bad enough, she had an armband and a fake needle on hand as well. Sometimes a little common sense goes a long way. In the number 3 spot, we have Snooki as the missing girl on the side of a milk carton. I'm sure that the hundreds of families that have been affected by the tragedy, they can hate Snooki's costume. As punishment, she should only be allowed to eat her cookies with water from now on.